Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Tim, and I am the content creator here at the Sexless Marriage Affirmations channel. And I just wanted to give a brief introduction to the channel and sort of what I'm going to be using it for. The bulk of the channel is going to be probably faceless in the sense it's going to be affirmations with just my voice, and sometimes perhaps music, sometimes just my voice, sometimes in a regular voice, perhaps sometimes in an ASMR voice, but just going through some affirmations that are hopefully helpful. In terms of my story, I have been married for 12 years. It is ending shortly, but it's been a sexless marriage slash touchless marriage for 4 years, and certainly very iffy before then in terms of how often intimacy was available, and just the whole sense of like you jump through hoops to even be acceptable and to be touched or loved. It's the sort of begging for scraps things that we talk about in these groups. So I am aware of how painful this can be. And I certainly just, number one, want to start by saying I'm so sorry for those of you going through it, that it is so painful. I get it. It can be a very soul destroying experience, especially when you started out with a very good foundation and you really felt like it was, on a good trajectory, lots of love and romance and affection. And then here you are. It doesn't make sense. And it feels like it just can't be your real life. And yet here you are dealing with it. So I do just want to extend my sincere sympathy for those of you going through it. And I also want to say sort of where I'm coming from in my journey. Number one, I want to start by saying this is hopefully stating the obvious, but I want to put it out there anyway. This channel is not going to in any way be saying that anybody should be having sex with anyone else who doesn't want to. That is never an appropriate message. I hope that's, again, stating the obvious, but there's no way in which we want anybody to be saying, well, you got married, therefore you should have sex when you don't want to. That is not the way this is going to go. And for anybody that feels that way, I would really encourage you to rethink that in terms of bodily autonomy. Having said that, it's also a truism that when you do make a marriage covenant and marriage vows, it is implicit in there that making love is part of what you're getting into. And therefore, to me, if somebody is saying, I'm married, I married you, and we did have intimacy and romance and touching, and no, I don't want to be touched anymore. At that point, to me, they're breaking their vows. They have every right to do that. Someone should not remain married who does not want to be, if they're feeling like they're not thriving, if they're feeling like they're not cared for or respected or whatever it is. Certainly, if you're abused, you should consider your options. But for those who are in a normal marriage where you're both good people, you both love each other, you both care, you're not abusive, for just your average people that show up every day to say, hey, I care about you. I care about your human journey. I care about your heart. I care about your body. I just want to bless you. I want to love you. That's what we married to be best friends and lovers. And I want to do that every day. When you have two people that are truly living that way, and then one person shuts down, the other person, of course, needs to try to figure out why. Like, did I do something? Is it something medical? Is it related to uh, getting older? What is the reason? But many times you could go around in circles trying to figure things out. Is it medical? Is it more emotional? Does the other person not feel fulfilled in the marriage? You don't know, but you do know one thing, that you married for love. You didn't marry to find a roommate. You didn't marry to find someone to help pay the bills, to just hang out with and watch shows on the weekend. You married someone to be your best friend. You want someone, and you're not just wanting sex, of course. You're wanting the whole package. You want someone who is going to say, "I want to hold your hand when we walk in the park. I want to smile at you and think the best of you, and just think I'm so proud to be with you. I love you so much." You want someone who's going to, like, if you went to the movie theater, who's going to be a little bit playful, perhaps, and be a little bit touchy in the dark. You want to be with someone who's going to send you sweet nothings and little fun texts throughout the day when you're at work. You want someone who's going to come up and give you a back rub and want a back rub from you, who's going to want to have a hug and who's going to want to have a little playful touch here or there. Someone who's going to want to, when you're doing dishes, that she might come up beside you and say, let me do them with you. And you kind of, bump each other a little bit and have fun and have a beautiful time of it. You want the whole thing, including the more erotic part of life. You want to shower together. You want to dress and undress each other. You want to touch each other's bodies. You want to arouse each other. You want to bring each other to orgasm. You want to come together. You want to be inside each other. You want to absolutely just love on each other. You want to be one as much as you can. And you want to fulfill each other's dreams, even fantasies. You want to be certainly taking care of their physical needs. And when someone says that part of our marriage and our life is temporarily or permanently over, but I still want to remain married, at least for now, they've basically handed you a marriage certificate emotionally, but not physically. They've said, I want to be married. I want you to keep paying my bills. I want you to keep helping me take out the trash, yada, yada. But I don't want to be actually married to you. Even if they wouldn't say those words, that's what they're doing. Sexual intimacy is critical. And when someone deprives the other person for whatever reason of sexuality in the long term, they are violating their marriage covenant. They have the right to do that. This isn't some kind of situation where we would say people would need to stay married who don't want to. Again, if people are moving on, then go ahead and move on. But it's those intermediate situations that are so painful, where someone's saying, "No, I don't really want to pursue a divorce yet, but I just don't want you to touch me." The other person's left floundering because again, you've basically been given an emotional divorce certificate, but not a physical one, and that's a horrible place for you to be. In addition, you're left floundering because we all know that human sexuality is a major part of our psyche. It takes over our bodies and how our hormones work, but also our minds. And you're literally at times aching emotionally and throbbing physically to be with somebody. And when someone's saying, I'm basically just going to bury that part of life, it's just not part of our human experience now as in our marriage. And you're saying to yourself, no way, like that's the part of life till we die, like until we're too old to do it. That's a part of, like, that's the best part of life. That's the beauty of life, is love and affection, tenderness and sweetness and eroticism. How can you just say it's over? And yet you won't divorce. And it puts you in a crazy spot, truly crazy spot. And again, my heart goes out to you. Um, and it doesn't make sense because you begin to think to yourself, I think a lot of us do, at least very naturally, maybe I did something wrong and maybe I just need to tweak this and tweak that. If I do more housework, if I do a little bit of more chores, if I am more affectionate, if I'm less insensitive in some way, maybe there's something I didn't pick up on. I'll pick up on it now. I will be, I'll be the best I can be for you. But in that process, and even though it's a great thing to say, I want to be the best for my partner, that's always commendable. But you also at the same time are perhaps setting up a paradigm where you're saying, I'm mentally thinking if I jump through enough hoops, I will deserve something in return. And so if I jump to these 10 hoops, maybe I'll get it back. Putting yourself in that frame of mind where this is all about how many hoops you jump through and how often, maybe it's like, well, if I jump to these 10 hoops, I get sex, but I probably won't expect it again for a month at that point. So I got to jump through 20 hoops the next time. Uh, it puts you in a horrible spot, both sexually, because you're now severely deprived, and that does a lot of things to you mentally, emotionally, psychologically. But you're also put in this cycle where you're thinking, I don't know how to back to that level. It also sets up a paradigm where the effort is all on you. Like they take all the power, as it were, and it's effectively making you think, whether they mean to do this or not. You're effectively thinking they're holding the key to our partnership. They're holding the key to our eroticism. And all of a sudden you're banging on the door saying, please let me in, please let me in. And I don't mean in some harassing sense, it's like, please let me have sex with you. No, I'm just talking about the general dynamic of the emotional component of your marriage. You never want to harass somebody for sex. That's obviously not what we're talking about. But the general emotional dynamic is they take all the power. They're the ones that always, they shut the door, they open it, and what they're making all the decisions. And all of a sudden you're left floundering saying, I've got no power left because I'm the one that wants sex and they don't. And of course, again, we're going to respect anyone's bodily autonomy. We're going to say, if you don't want sex, then I'm not going to try anymore. Like that's your choice. You're allowed to say no. Your body should never be subjected to something you don't want it to be subjected to. But you have in taking your autonomy, your bodily autonomy, in saying, I no longer want sex with you, you have violated your marriage vows, which you're in your rights to do. But it's time for you to move on then and free me up. But they don't do that. They're effectively saying, because we're married, I certainly don't want you sleeping around. You can't have sex with some third party. You can't be a swinger or anything. Like, I expect you to be celibate, but I also expect you to not have sex with me. They're taking all the power, leaving you completely powerless, putting you in a horrible spot. And certainly for anyone that's very sexually eager in general, they're leaving you in a spot where you're going to be tempted, of course, to look elsewhere. And if you're a person of character, in my opinion, you're going to try your best to not go down that route, but you're still going to see things and you're still going to think, gosh, that person's so handsome, so beautiful, so lovely. I wonder what it would be like to have a life again where I was sexually active. And so your partner's putting you in a bad spot there where you're living your life aching and aching and aching and knowing it's day after day, week after week, month after month, even year after year, you're not going to have that part of life anytime soon. They have wounded you, and yes, they may be wounded, but they're also wounding you. And they're not brave enough to say, "Yeah, I'm going to sexually deprive you. I have not honored my marriage vows, so I will leave you free to go to move on." They don't do that by and large. They don't take the high road and say, "I've done you wrong. I have deprived you in a way that I promised to never do to you, but I have done it anyway." They're not able to think through the ramifications. They become very selfish. They're not thinking about you at all. They're not thinking about the pain of your how much you're aching to be loved. They're just thinking of whatever they're frustrated with or dealing with, and they certainly feel consumed, I'm sure, by it. I'm sure that it's a very rough road for them on their side. But at the same point, you're trying to be healthy. You're saying, well, there's a healthiness to our marriage that needs to occur. If we're going to be strong and get through the storms of life, we need to be strong on every level, not just sexually, but they're basically carving out an emotional life without you that certainly includes without your body. And you're left floundering. You're left saying, what the hell is this? What am I at now? Is this a marriage or isn't it? And they won't really step up to the plate and say, no, it's not really a marriage anymore. Let's move on. I wish you the best. Have a great life. Go find a partner. You clearly are an affectionate, loving person. I hope you find it. And in many cases, they'll of course blame it on you. They'll say, this is your fault. This is your fault that you're not affectionate. And again, I'm not talking about abusive people. If you're beating your wife, if you're a passive aggressive narcissist or something, there's some issues on your side too. So please don't take this as if I'm oversimplifying it to the point to say there's no exceptions to this. But I'm just looking at the normally healthy people. And I just want to say for those people, when you've been deprived, you ache day after day, week after week, and there's no end in sight. You're going to get to a point where emotionally it is just going to take you down so hard, so far. Why? What did I do to deserve this? What's wrong with me? Why are my friends most likely enjoying the best parts of life and I'm left in my bed alone at night and even perhaps mocked for my sexual desires, mocked for my desire to touch the other person, to see their nakedness, to delight in each other, to be fun and playful, to be touching each other, to be taking showers, to be giving each other orgasms in every way we can. You're mocked as if that's somehow weird or different or abnormal. And it's not. You're looking for the most beautiful parts of life, and you just want to be as healthy as you can in and of yourself and with them. And of course, you're driven at that point to certainly, again, the word deprivation comes to mind, but you're driven to take care of yourself, to masturbation, which is fine at times. I mean, there's always going to be seasons where that's going to be a part of the equation, and that shouldn't be seen as a short-term issue. But if you're basically saying, I guess at this point, I'm going to be taking care of myself for the next 5, 10 years, like that's insane. That's crazy. That's not what we signed up for. We signed up for affection and romance and intimacy. We signed up for eroticism. We signed up for growth where we're trying our best to say, I want to get to know your body better. I want to delight in your body and my own body better. I want to find new ways to please you. I want to find new ways to turn you on. I want to find new ways to make you smile and blush. I want to find ways to make your orgasm better and to make you just feel loved and cared for. That's what we're aiming for in life. We're aiming for the beauty of becoming the healthiest people we can be in our own hearts and expressing that beauty and love and tenderness and care and safety for other people. They've made it so unsafe. You can't express your sexual desires. You can't express your desire for affection and romance. You have to basically shut it all down. And it's just not you. You can't shut, it's like shutting yourself down, shutting your humanity down. You can't do it. And it wouldn't be healthy to do it. And yet they kind of directly or indirectly insist that you do. Horrible spot to be. My heart goes out to you. And this channel is going to be about basically saying, let's talk through the different nuances and issues and the aches and the ways that we are so frustrated and so wondering, like, what's the next step? How do we survive this? And just taking away the guilt of what's wrong with me? Why don't I deserve to be loved? And to say, no, no, that's not what this is about. We need, but those messages go so deep when someone rejects you, especially long term. They go so deep, and it's so painful. And I really want to be a voice of reason in this. I want to be a voice of hope for those of you going through it, and just a source of comfort to say, yeah, like I get it. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you're going through it. You're not wrong for wanting more out of life. To be sexless long term when you are wanting to be sexually active every day, you are not wrong to be saying there's got to be more than this. There's got to be better. So, and I would value your comments to say what topics might be helpful to go through and what directions and just any feedback. Certainly there's things I might come out of my mouth where I maybe need to be more clear and or more direct or whatever. I need to be careful about how I phrase things. So I appreciate your feedback. Keep me on target, keep me healthy. Again, we want to completely fight against any kind of rape culture. People, being married is not a free ticket to say their body's mine. It's not. Where marital rape is a real thing. If your spouse says no, I don't want sex, and you do it anyway, that's marital rape. It's not right. We're never going to go down that road. We're never going to encourage people to force themselves into someone else, and we're never going to encourage someone to say, well, I guess I just have to do this even though I cringe inside. If you're cringing to please your spouse, I'm sorry. It's don't do that. Don't cringe to please your spouse. Move on. Your spouse needs someone who doesn't cringe when they orgasm. Your spouse needs someone whose partner delights in them, who says, "Yes, I want to be with you. I want to touch you. I want my body to be closely knit with you, my spirit, my emotions, my life. I want to tie myself up in you. I want our life to be, as it were, a living poetry that just takes your breath away with its beauty. I don't want a dead marriage. I don't want a dead sex life. I want to seize the day, and I want to seize the most precious parts of who we are. You need that. And when you have that, it frees you up to embrace the most beautiful other parts of like non-sexual parts of life. But when you don't have it, boy, does it become the focus. And you just eventually you can't even, you're just thinking about that all the time because you're so wounded by the lack of it. Um, I am not in any way going to ever claim that I've got the healthiest perspective on everything, but I do think I've got somewhat of a balanced perspective. I think I certainly have a desire to be healthy in this, and I have a desire to help other people to feel heard and cared for, listened to. My main job is I interview people all day for completely different reasons, um, on a different YouTube channel, but I may include at some point some interviews with people who would be willing to share their stories respectfully. Again, we're never going to be going down the route of trying to encourage people to have sex that don't want to, but with people just saying, I respect other people's autonomy, but their autonomy and their lack of willingness to pursue a divorce is leaving me in a sexless marriage long term, completely deprived, aching and hurt and wounded. And there's nothing I can do to fix it except wait. A horrible place to be. It's where I've been. I won't be there too much longer, but it's a horrible place to be. And my heart aches for you, as it aches for myself. So I hope that helps. I want to try long term to build, I guess, a little bit of a community of people who can kind of encourage each other. I will be moderating, of course, any comments on the channel. They have to be clean. I'm not going to put up with any, nonsense. But I hope that this becomes a place of safety and a place where people feel heard, cared for, and just a sense of like, yeah, yeah, life is so much more beautiful than just to do nothing more than just sit and wallow. We have to dream big, and we have to, at some point, just like we encourage them to embrace their autonomy and do what's best for their body and their psyche, do what's best for their healthiness. We also need to do what's best for our healthiness, and that may include a divorce, but or just if you're not married, just moving on from that relationship. But autonomy is a big deal for them as the person who is depriving us and making their own choice to withhold affection. But it's also a choice on our plate that eventually you get to choose for yourself what you want to do. And so much of that is going to come down to re-embracing your power, as well as saying, I deserve better, as well as just saying, how do I dream big and embrace my life to the full? Like, I'm not only at the whim of other people. Yes, other people's choices do affect me, but that's not the only part of my story. And eventually I need to find a way to steer my own journey, to steer my own life, to take back my power, and to say, what do I need to be in the best life I can be? And then, having made those choices, to pursue your autonomy, to say, in this particular situation, in this marriage, in this relationship, knowing that they're not willing to work on it, what is my next best step? Both respecting them and wishing them the best. We never wish anyone ill will, but to simply say it's time. That this is not behavior that we can put up with. You have violated your marriage vows. You have the right to do so. And at this point, though, it is time for me to pursue what's best for me as well. I think there's a lot of good things we can talk about. I have a lot of videos planned, and I hope that my affirmations do help you. If I do some interviews here, eventually I hope they help people. If you have a story to tell, and if you're the kind of person that knows how to tell your story well, and to be respectful, but also you've really pursued healthiness in your own heart, as well as in how you deal with other people. Maybe we could consider as well an interview. I would love to help other people have a voice in this. Again, we'll always toe the line. We'll always make sure that we're not in any way crossing boundaries that shouldn't be crossed. But we do want to be an encouragement. We want to be a source where people say, "Wow, I'm not alone. I'm not alone anymore." I can hear other people saying, "Yeah, this is not healthy, and we need to talk through this, and we need to, if possible, to find ways to move on to healthiness, or at least to move away from toxicity and hope for good things in the future." So again, my name is Tim. You didn't catch it up front, and I hope to be an encouragement to you all. Thank you for watching the channel. Feel free to share it with anyone else that's going through hard times. I want to be a blessing, and I want to be a help. So I appreciate your listening to this intro. Again, your suggestions are very welcome. Thanks so much. Have a great day.